When I'm in a situation and I haven't got a shoe for it, then I need new shoes. So all I have to do is keep active 365 days a year, go out and do new things all the time and go to new places. And it's pretty easy to find inspiration to make new shoes.
Whenever I get an opportunity to buy vintage shoes that are of particular interest to me, I do so and very quickly take one apart to find how it's been constructed. And that will give further inspiration to make a different style of shoe, but using the tricks that I've discovered in that first shoe.
Is it something that you want to be more romantic? Does it relate to theatre? You ask yourself lots of questions and you go to the library. At the moment, it's phenomenal to actually just go on a computer. I can stay on literally researching on a computer forever. And you never know where your mind takes you. It could be one picture and kind of lead to another picture, and then words and names and association come up. And that is how the research process come up. So it's always from a story, and then looking into anything that is related to it.
Oh, do you have a mood board? Are you crazy? What a waste of time and energy. You just know what you want and you do it. Mind you, sometimes I do horrible things and sometimes I do beautiful things, but I do what I want to do. I don't have this kind of, why should I just, for Philip II, I know what I wanted and I didn't have to put Philip's picture or whatever, or the materials. I don't believe in that kind of new mood boards. I know that people do because the designers I work with, since the times of Calvin Klein, we need to have a mood board. We have to do this. And to me, it was absolutely a waste of time.
What I want to see really at the end is a shoe. I don't want to see something where it's almost a mimic of what's been happening to you. I would give you an example. I traveled to Egypt. I'm not going to bring back an Egyptian collection because it's not because I've been in Egypt that every woman has to have, a caryatide or like a mummy as a T-strap. So it needs to, I think that for me, definitely inspiration is one thing. It can come from a lot of influences, but I still work on actually not stopping, but melting in these inspirations so it really ends up being a shoe. Some people may see the inspiration and some people may not. I like as much people who don't see the inspiration as people who see the inspiration. Sometimes it's slightly heavy enough that it would see, but I really always try that it ends up being a shoe and not, a little, the story of what happened to me 6 months before.
The design for a bespoke pair of shoes necessarily is a collaboration with a client, listening to their wish list.
I create my designs under pressure of deadlines, to be honest with you. They have been swirling around in my head for about 6 months, and then you get to that point where you've got to go and hand it over to the factory, and I am a notorious last minute, just wring out every sort of last minute sort of thought you can have about a thing. I could do a whole bunch of designs and you can guarantee on the last day I'll just redo them because they'll be better on the last day because I've had more time to think about them.
My design process is to draw directly onto the last. There I have all the information I need in terms of my client's measurements, the stylistic qualities of the shoe, and in drawing directly onto the last, I think I bring a particular sort of aesthetic to my work. I'm not a trained designer and I'm not computer literate. I don't draw a lot, I can draw, but for me, the last is the key to everything.
Sketching first, and then thinking about materials to go with what you want to achieve. And then on top of that is the dressing, is the embellishment, is choosing the finishing of even metal and buttons. And so it all kind of come together as pencil, paper, playing with different bits of materials, and then sending the sketches to our pattern cutters. And sometimes we'll even draw the design onto what we call a last and make sure that I like a certain cut or a certain proportion to be executed, and that gets cut into a paper cut pattern.
Computer? Are you out of your mind? Never. Computer, no. I do sketches. Like I do it. Sometimes I just wake up at the night. The next day I say, what did I do there? I don't even know what I did because it was like by the bed, my bedroom. I have a pencil with a wire, and I just take it and then boom, back again to bed. And sometimes I don't even know what I do, but this is the way I do things.
So it's not a moment where I'm thinking, I don't know what to draw, because when you draw, the design can be interesting as a design, but the drawing otherwise, if, just sketching a pump for me anyway, I'm going to correct the line, etc. So if it's not a nice design, if it's not a new design, at least it's a drawing, and as I like to draw, that actually completely satisfies me. And the fact to be satisfied brings me definitely idea, puts me in the mood of embellishing the drawings.
My favorite part of the whole business of doing shoes, being able to be in the factory and talking to the people. They're old people most of the time. The people I get on very well, like 50, 60, I mean, whatever. And the best, they know what they're doing so well, and I love that.
The way in which I hand make my shoes is different from factory production. I use very, very few machines. I use a sewing machine, and that's about the extent of it. So I have limitations. I don't have any economies of scale. But I also have liberations, because it means that because I have the skill, because I have the knowledge, I can make sophisticated, beautiful, high-heeled shoes in my kitchen if necessary.
I spend a lot of time in the factories. I draw, and then after, the second part is always in Italy for me, in the factory. And I sleep in the factory, and I stay there, and I reproduce a style, I correct the style, stay there. I stay a week, for instance, completely, and start from one design which has become a pattern, the first prototype. I correct the prototype, redo the prototype at least 2 or 3 times in the same week. So definitely it's important to be there. Otherwise, it's just an idea unfinished. But if you really want to have the line correct, if you really want that it looks good on, you definitely have to be there with the manufacturers.
I was trying to capture that kind of 50s Dolce Vita era when, being black suited and sharp was kind of it. So I kind of had to go to Italy to do that. Now I found that when we've moved into sneakers, it also gives you a very nice luxury feel, and there's a very fast moving way of working in Italy that means that you can have an idea one day and you can have that shoe in your hand within a couple of days, and then you can go back and do it. It's a very flexible working situation, and they have a lot of pride there as well, where naturally things will not come out of the factory unless they are just beautiful and perfect.
That connection between a designer with the factory and the maker is key, because ultimately you're not making everything yourself. You're trying to translate your idea into something that's 3D, and you have to have a clear communication and sometimes pushing one another to actually try new things in order to innovate. And over the years, we've built a great, strong relationship with our makers. And that is something that I would always treasure.
Every generation of shoemakers have adopted new technologies of their time. In my case, the new technology would have been the sewing machine coming in 1860, whatever it is, and that's the one new technology that I do use every day.
When I started, people used to use actual dies and molds to actually cut a stack of leather to make the actual shoes. Now it's all computerized. Everything's laser cut. So I think technology is going to play a huge part of this whole process of making shoes and designing.
Every season, all the factories initially, they come to new materials for you and proposing new materials. But this is what we're doing now. Sometimes I say, why don't you do a mixture between this and that? And we try to do new materials. And sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not.
It's going to just divide in different ways, and stuff will get really scientific, and stuff will still remain traditional. And then at some points, those things mix, and then people's tastes change, and it goes back to the real traditional thing, or it gets super technical again. So, it'll be a merry dance forever.
I think that in terms of design, what has been changing is probably new textiles, new fabrics, materials. That's a thing. So everything which is new, but it's already sort of au point. But still, it hasn't moved. It hasn't moved leather. Leather shoes is still the number one from far, the number one. You have leather shoes, I have leather shoes, I see leather shoes there, I see leather shoes there. I see, a pair of sneakers there, so probably some plastic, but that's about it, And so you have all those new technicity, etc. But it's almost like a little decor. It adds something, but it's a bit of a cherry on the cake, but the cake is still the same, I would say.
I'm proud to be a craftsman. When people call me a designer, I'm very flattered.
I never really thought about it my whole life, being a shoe designer, and it was truly a eureka moment. Just one day I was like, I should design shoes. How hard can that be?
I love making beautiful things. I love to make the woman happy, and I love to be involved with fashion.
To me, it's just like dresses and jackets and jeans and things. It's things you use. Shoes is just like sort of like a fantasy, a kind of indulgence.
I've been, as a teenager, starting drawing, and it was a sort of in a bit of a dreamy thing, but it was not considered as a job, and that dreamy thing became a job. So definitely, it's a type of a big buckle, from a dream, it becomes a job, and the job is a dream. So it's no longer a dream, it's a job, but the job is a dream, so it's all fine.